So I'm kind of hoping that Afterlife is going to be that film that I and probably hundreds of millions of other people actually really want as well. You know, we've got the number one fanboy in Jason Reitman actually like at the helm of it. You know, so
number two fan.
And his dad was there.
I'm curious to see if they're going to put any old.
His dad was there, but Annie was a background participant, so how much he'll have been involved, you don't know, do you?
What did you say, Will? Sorry.
I'm just curious to see if they're going to be they're going to have some new ghosts in the new preview, of course. I'm curious to see if they're going to put any of the old ones from the other movies in.
Well, we're clearly going to see Slimer, aren't we? There's that big, long-standing rumor that Muncher eats Slimer as well as half the Ecto-1.
It's one of the box art for the Hasbro toys.
Yeah, well, yeah, again, that's toys leaking spoilers for you well ahead of its release. So again, if that's true, then there's going to be a lot of disheartened OG fans like myself that don't want to see Slimer perished, or the Ecto-1 for that matter. But we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think bringing Slimer back would be nice to see, but again, it's about moving on, and I think Muncher is just going to be a natural replacement for him.
I also think that, as iconic as the Ecto-1 is, if the rumour is true that Muncher does eat part of at least the front end of Ecto-1, I reckon at the end of the film, or in the next film at least, we'll see a new car.
Will it be as iconic as the original, or as crap as 2016?
Hopefully,
will it be the Subaru Legacy that we've just seen being fixed in the last leaked image or released image?
Yes, it will.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the last released image is the mom and daughter sitting on the roof of the car, and Finn Wolfhard's character fix it with the bonnet up on a Subaru Legacy estate.
Yeah,
that was the Mother's Day post, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. And it's the mother's car that they arrived to the farmhouse with in the trailer.
So going back to the film, what are we thinking of the cast?
Excellent.
It's all right. I think the cast's fine. I know a lot of people are hung up on the fact that it's kids, and to a degree, can kids handle a proton pack? We're going to find out either way, whether we like it or not. Are the modifications to the pack to make it safer and more able for younger people and stuff to use? Is that?
I mean, given the fact that you have to wrangle everything, like they're going to have some really upper body strength and center of gravity in order to wrangle stuff around, and it being.
Yeah, but some of the new wires and stuff that we see on the new pack could be there as a dampener to prevent that from happening, to make the packs more stable and easier to use.
Doesn't Phoebe use it in one of the trailers? Is it in one of the international trailers? Is that with the Ecto goggles with the?
Yeah.
Oh, doesn't Phoebe use the?
Yeah, when she uses it though, she's not actually firing at a ghost. She's just firing it to be like, this is cool.
Yeah.
So the only time she's actually firing at a ghost is when she's strapped to the gunner seat. So the wrangling and stuff would be taken out of the equation there because she's in a seat and strapped in.
Oh yeah, it's just one of them. It's people are getting hung up on the fact that it's kids. Well, who did you want to continue this for the next 30 years?
Thing,
like, a bunch of 80-year-old men.
Cast. Obviously, Howard Ramett is dead.
Yeah,
but the rest are in the 70s.
Yeah,
like, Ernie Hudson is almost in his 80s in a few years.
Exactly.
You just have to look at the success of Stranger Things, though, to see how.
Well, that's why it's a perfect cast.
Horror and things like that.
People have said, well, you're just copying Stranger Things. And it's like, well,
it's ridiculous.
No, Stranger Things took influence from Ghostbusters in the first place.
Well, Stranger Things is a massive love letter to 80s horror, and that is it. That's what Stranger Things is,
Yeah. In one of the episodes of Stranger Things, they all dress up as Ghostbusters.
Exactly, and Finn Wolfhard has not only he's got quite a long-standing history with horror films as well. Not only was he obviously in Stranger Things, but obviously he's in the latest remake of Stephen King's It as well. You know.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, these people who are saying, "Oh, it's going to be a kids' film, so it's not going to be great," are the same people going out in the middle of a pandemic to panic buy the Kenner toys that have just been re-released.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And didn't Jason Reitman say at the end of the day, this is a family film about family?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's got the same rating as the first two films. Like, the first Ghostbusters wasn't aimed at adults, it's aimed at families, the same.
Yeah.
There's kiddie jokes and then there's more adult jokes.
Yeah. I mean, you get that with Disney, with The Simpsons. There's always got to be some adult humor in there because the family's all together watching that. You know? There's got to be something in there for the adults.
There never would have been a cartoon. There never would have been a toy line. We wouldn't be talking about Ghostbusters now because we wouldn't have liked it as kids.
No,
Exactly. That's the thing, isn't it? If it wasn't appealing to kids, we wouldn't be fans.
Exactly.
And long-standing, as evidenced by all of our backgrounds.
Apart from mine, that's Power Rangers and Superman.
You're in the wrong corner, buddy. You're in the wrong corner.
Change
If I
corner.
could there's some over there. There's some over there. There's some up there. More up there somewhere.
Well, not only have I got
There's
all
some
this
stuff
behind me,
about-
but I've got all of this in front of me as well. So I really need a good corner to capture it all. You know. Going back to the cast, and obviously we said that the guy's in the 70s now, Ernie Hudson almost in his 80s. What do you feel? Are we going to lose some dynamic without Harold Ramis?
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
Yeah, I don't think that's I don't think that's avoidable to lose a bit of that dynamic. But then it depends on the way it's handled and the way it's done. If it's done right, it can be minimal.
In movie, do we think we're going to get a ghost Egon, for instance, like a Force ghost Jedi type thing? You know, are we going to
I
see
don't know how I feel about that.
maybe someone over the threshold? You know, nodding to the OG guys to say
Yeah.
thanks for putting me to
I
rest.
had a
Maybe you know.
theory. I did have a theory at one point, but it's been kind of disproven because of the mini Stay Puffs. But I had a theory at one point that maybe Gozer summons a new destroyer, and her destroyer to destroy the Ghostbusters is Egon.
Could
But a
still
ghost
happen.
Would have
version,
been cool.
like the version of Citizen Ghosts in the real Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
The version of Egon
The
very
only
much like
reason
that.
why that could be an issue is because the real life actor is dead. Like, he's not just the character that's dead.
Yeah, but with
We see
CGI
it
and
happen.
everything nowadays, it's easy for them
Yeah.
to do that.
I say we've seen it happen before with Grand Moff Tarkin.
And Princess Leia.
And Princess Leia as well. We've seen de-aging in Morgan Freeman, Patrick Stewart. You know,
Before Afterlife was announced, there was talks amongst Sony, and they were on about making Egon through all this technology where it's like deepfake and stuff.
Yeah.
And his daughter said, well, you can recreate him how he looked, but you won't be able to recreate his humour.
Yeah.
So
No.
even if you brought him back that way, you'd still lose something.
Of course you would. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
He'll
even
be
Jason
missed,
Reitman
right?
said, of course. But even Jason Reitman said that this film is heavily about Egon, and you know there is something in the film about Egon in itself. Is that obviously solely related to his family, or is that is there an Egon moment in there? Whether it's
It could be.
flashbacks?
It
The
could
fact
be
that-
related to explaining how he died and why he died.
Yeah.
Could be a flashback.
I think if you're in the trailer when she finds the sort of underground, lab, it's the way she finds it. It's a puzzle. She has to unlock that, and I would say that the whole film's probably about her sort of solving this puzzle of her grandfather, who he was, why he was there, and I would imagine at some point later on in the film is when we see the original cast. It's more of sort of like they see Egon in her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She started to show more of the characteristics of Egon and the way she is, and there's very much like the nod to him. He is them looking at her and seeing that he's within her. So that's what I would think, and I think that would be quite a nice subtle sort of nod to it, is that he lives on in his family.
Yeah,
but
leading into Egon lives on through her, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But sticking with that thought, then, how can someone of her age, who obviously had a close relationship with her grandfather, let's say, it would be grandfather at this point, how does she not know that he was a famous Ghostbuster back in the 80s through to the early 90s?
Maybe her mom didn't want them to be exposed to it.
I don't think they did have a close relationship.
Yeah,
because
maybe
at the end of the day,
she never knew him.
See, that's where this is what confuses me, because obviously it's Egon, and the way Egon has been portrayed is that he isn't necessarily interested in human emotional things. He's more interested
human contact,
in, like, he's a bit like a Vulcan, and he's all logical. And but then in Ghostbusters 2, he starts to become a bit more peaceful. And he says to Venkman, like, they're more interested in my epididymis, which kind of says, I've been having sex while you haven't been seeing me. So the timeline for not only the mum but the grandkids, if it's anything after Ghostbusters 2, she would have been a teenage mum.
Yeah.
So maybe he never presents that he's got children, because it was never thought about when those films were made. So maybe the way that they brought it back to that is by using what he said in Ghostbusters 2, that he is like the science chicks dig him, and then like he's obviously sleeping with the slime. So maybe it's just an experiment to him, and that's how the children.
But
it's always the quiet ones.
You could get around that though, because I don't think that Carrie Coon is Egon's daughter.
Shut up, you weirdo! We already know she is.
No, I think we don't.
The family of
let's go.
Egon.
Let's go back.
Lemmings family.
Let's go back to the casting choice. There's that Oliver guy from Project X.
Oliver Cooper.
I forget his name. I'm a crap host if I forgot his name. But he looks like he looks similar to Harold Ramis.
But no, his character is called Elton, which is similar to Egon. Elton. Elton Spengler. That's my theory.
Has that been officially revealed though? That his name in it is Elton.
Well, it's on Wikipedia as Elton.
Oh, hang on now.
I don't think we can trust Wikipedia.
Stop the press.
Let's all make sure that that's real.
No, well,
and also, let's not forget. Go on, Joe. Sorry.
Either his character name is Elton, or it's like what they did with the Hasbro figures, where they gave them different names as a disguise.
Yeah.
And then he's like.
That's what I was just going to say. I mean, don't forget the first things that we saw of Afterlife being filmed, and that it was called Rust City, not Afterlife, or Legacy as it is in other parts of the world. So it can easily be a code name.
I mean, again, it could be a red herring, but I seriously believe that he could be the basis of either the kid's father related to Egon, or he is going to be used for the deep fake of Harold Ramis.
Yeah. That's what
or a de-aged Egon. Flashbacks to say this is what happened, and now Egon's got a family that we don't know about.
He's a spitting image of him, and he's even got the same hair.
Very close. Yeah, very, very close. Yeah, obviously, he's closer to Harold's. In his later years, closer to Harold's weight at that point as well, wasn't he? So, who knows?
If you look at him, right, with his specs on and his hair, he looked like he did. He looked like Harold Ramis in Strike.
Type something, will you? We're paying for this stuff.